Okay, if you like this video, please like it, share it and subscribe it. Don't skip any videos and watch continuously for better understanding. Hi all, a happy day and warm greetings to everyone who are watching this video. Now as a part of continuation of the lesson plant physiology and plant anatomy, we have come to the second part of the plant physiology that is mitochondria. Today we will study about mitochondria and respiration. So what is mitochondria? They are nothing but granular or filamentous organelles found in the cytoplasm of a cell. Okay, இது முதல்ல யார் கண்டுபிடிச்சா அப்படின்னா கொலிக்கர் in the year 1857. So he found this organelle in the cytoplasm of a striated muscle. கொலிக்கர் in the year 1857. So mitochondria ல என்ன இருக்கும் அப்படின்னா it has almost 60 to 70% of the protein, 25 to 35% of lipids, 5 to 7% of RNA and some DNA. Mitochondria kana thaniya DNA nuclear material la irukum. So mitochondria oda vela enna? So when you ask a child or a third standard child ketta why do you eat food, avungalukku ore vaartha answer enna irukona we eat food to obtain energy. So நம்ம சாப்பிடுற சாப்பாடுல இருந்து we synthesize energy or ஆற்றல் நம்ம உருவாக்குறோம். அந்த எனர்ஜியை synthesize பண்ணுற சைட்டு தான் mitochondria inside a cell. So mitochondria is an organelle where the energy molecule, that is the energy currency of the cell, ATP molecule is synthesized. ATP is nothing but adenosine triphosphate. So this is synthesized with the help of oxygen and food what we consume. That in the following session we will study. So just remember, mitochondria is an organelle which is involved in the synthesis of ATP. What is ATP? ATP is nothing but it is the energy currency of the cell. So ஒரு பேட்டரி எப்படி வந்து ஒரு பவரை ஸ்டோர் பண்ணி நம்மளுக்கு யூஸ் ஆகுதோ அந்த மாதிரி energy will be stored in mitochondria. That is why mitochondria is called as powerhouse of the cell. So this is called as a powerhouse of the cell because it is involved in the synthesis of ATP, which is nothing but energy currency. The full form of ATP is adenosine triphosphate. So this is regarding mitochondria introduction. Coming to the structure, as already I told you in the previous video, plastids and mitochondria they both are double membraned organelles. Organelles, as already I told you, they are tiny living bodies found in the cytoplasm of the cell which are involved in various functions of the cell. ஒரு செல்லுக்குள்ள நிறைய குட்டி குட்டி tiny living bodies இருக்கும். ஒன்னொன்னு ஒரு வேலையை பண்ணும் அந்த கம்ப்ளீட் செல்லை ப்ராப்பராக ஃபங்க்ஷன் பண்ண வைக்கிறதுக்கு. So mitochondria energy production la involved. Mitochondria, as already I told you, coming to structure of mitochondria, again mitochondria is a double membraned structure. So this is outer membrane. Okay, outer membrane of mitochondria. The outer membrane is smooth and it is freely permeable. அதாவது யார் வந்தாலும் அமிச்சிரும் உள்ள. அங்கே ஒரு செக்யூரிட்டி கார்டு யாருமே இருக்க மாட்டாங்க. எந்த மாலிக்யூல் வந்தாலும் அவுட்டர் மெம்பரேனை தாண்டி உள்ளே போகலாம். Okay, so this is the outer membrane and it is freely permeable. So what it is made up of? Again it will be made up of some proteins, lipids and some protein molecules called as sporin molecules. அதாவது as a channels to carry the molecules from outside the cell to inside. அதாவது இந்த வெளியே இருந்து உள்ள சில molecules எல்லாம் போகிறதுக்காக some channels will be there, they are called as sporin molecules. Okay, so this is regarding outer membrane. So outer membrane, as already I told you, it is smooth and it is freely permeable. That is, it allows everyone to enter inside, all the molecules. Okay, it is made up of some proteins, lipids and some sporin molecules, I said. So outer membrane தாண்டி உள்ள போயிட்டா இருக்கிறது is inner membrane. Inner membrane வந்து is not very smooth as outer membrane. It has lot of folds like this. நிறைய மடிப்புகள் உள் பக்கமாக நிறைய மடிப்புகள் இருக்கும். Okay, like finger like projections it has. Okay, the finger like projections which are found in the inner membrane, they are called as cristae. So what is cristae? They are nothing but the minute finger like projections which are found in the inner membrane of the mitochondria. Okay, inner membrane, unlike outer membrane, it is not freely permeable. That is, it is semi permeable. அதாவது ஒரு security guard மாதிரி வந்த எல்லாரையும் உள்ள விடாது, தேவையானவங்க மட்டும்தான் உள்ளே போக முடியும். So such a membrane is called as semi-permeable membrane, which is selectively allows molecules inside through it. Okay. Again, this is also made up of proteins, lipids and various enzymes. Okay. In the rendu membrane ku nadula irukra space is called as intermembrane space. Intermembrane space. So outer membrane is smooth, freely permeable. Inner membrane has some finger-like projections called as cristae, and the space between the outer membrane and inner membrane is called as inner membrane space. Okay. Then coming to inner membrane daandi ulla poita irukra and the background fullame will be called as matrix. It is called as matrix. It is rich in proteins, lipids, tRNAs and some amount of DNA it has. Okay, and various enzymes which are required for that energy synthesis process. So this is regarding the structure of mitochondria. And coming to inner membrane. In the inner membrane oda surface la, it has lot of minute tennis racket shaped particles called as oxysomes or F1 particles. Okay, in the oxysomes அப்படின்றது ரொம்ப important. எதுக்கு அப்படின்னா for synthesis of ATP. ATP யாரு? It is nothing but adenosine triphosphate, which is also known as energy currency of the cell. அந்த production தான் மைட்டோகாண்ட்ரியால நடக்கும். ஓகே, இதில் யார் வந்து இன்வால்வ் அப்படின்னா இந்த மைட்டோகாண்ட்ரியாவோட இன்னர் மெம்ப்ரெயினில் இட் ஹேஸ் வெரி மைன்யூட், தட் இஸ் ஸ்மால் tennis racket shaped particles. Okay, this is called as, they are called as oxysomes. Oxysomes. These oxysomes are involved in the synthesis of ATP. Okay, where are these oxysomes found அப்படின்னா they are found in the inner membrane, regularly spaced minute tennis racket shaped particles called as oxysomes or F1 particles which are involved in ATP. So regarding the structure of mitochondria, you have to remember outer membrane, inner membrane, what is cristae, what are oxysomes. So these things you have to remember. As already I told you, mitochondrial matrix which is lying inner to the inner membrane, ull fulla and the inner membrane தாண்டி உள்ள போயிட்டே இருக்கிறது எல்லாம் அந்த பேக்ரவுண்ட் எல்லாமே is called as matrix. So it has lot of proteins and lipids and many enzymes which are essential for Krebs cycle and process of respiration. Okay, so this is regarding mitochondrial structure. Sorry, functions of mitochondria and பார்க்கும்போது, as already I told you, mitochondria is called as powerhouse of the cell. ஏன்னா எனர்ஜியை synthesis பண்ணி ஸ்டோர் பண்ணி வச்சுக்கிறதால it is called as a powerhouse of the cell. Also it helps to maintain the normal calcium ion concentration. Also it regulates the metabolic activity of the cell, that is the energy production of the cell and the complete cell function. These three functions only you have to remember regarding the functions of mitochondria. Okay, next we will move on to one important part, that is respiration. Respiration. Respiration அப்படினா என்ன சொல்வோம்? That is, we take in oxygen and we give out carbon dioxide. This is what we say respiration அப்படினா. Respiration அப்படினா என்ன? We take in oxygen and we give out carbon dioxide. அப்படி ஒரு சிங்கிள் வார்த்தையில் சொல்கிற ரொம்ப ஈஸியான ப்ராசஸ் இஸ் நாட் ரெஸ்பிரேஷன். இட் இஸ் அ வெரி வெரி காம்ப்ளெக்ஸ் பயோகெமிக்கல் ப்ராசஸ். There are two types of respiration. One is external respiration. Another one is internal or cellular respiration, which takes place inside the cell. So we take in oxygen. This oxygen should enter each, இது ஒரு செல்லுன்னு நம்ம நினச்சிக்கலாம், cell of a body. This oxygen should enter each and every cell of the body, and the glucose molecule C6H12O6, which we get through our digested food. So this is the glucose molecule, the ultimate molecule which we get through our digested food. This glucose molecule will combine with oxygen to give you ATP, that is energy, plus oxygen plus carbon dioxide plus water. So this complex process takes place inside a cell. So we take in oxygen, this oxygen combines with glucose or digested food to give you energy, carbon dioxide and water, and this carbon dioxide and water will be given out. So this mere mechanical process of taking in oxygen and giving out carbon dioxide, this is called as external respiration. And this complex biochemical process which takes place inside the cell, where the oxygen combines with the glucose molecule to give you ATP, carbon dioxide and water. This complex biochemical process is called as cellular respiration or internal respiration. These are the two types of respiration you have to remember. Okay. இப்போ செல்லுக்குள்ள நடக்கிற respiration, that is அந்த energy production processல, if that respiration takes place with the help of in the presence of oxygen, we call that process as aerobic respiration. So this takes place in many plants and animals, all higher order plants and animals. This aerobic respiration only takes place where the glucose is broken down in the presence of oxygen. Oxygen presence la respiration nadandaduna, that is going to be aerobic respiration. In all higher plants and animals, this aerobic respiration only takes place. Here with the help of, here this is converted into ATP plus carbon dioxide plus water. This is aerobic respiration. Anaerobic respiration அப்படினா an அப்படினா absent. யார் இல்லை, air இல்லை, அதாவது oxygen இல்லை, glucose மட்டுமே will be broken down to ATP plus we will have ethyl alcohol coming out plus water. So when the respiration is taking place without oxygen, so we call that process as anaerobic respiration or fermentation. Here in addition to ATP we have ethyl alcohol coming out. Okay, this takes place in lower organisms like yeast. Okay, in some bacteria lactic acid is also produced. Okay, so respiration in the presence of oxygen is called as aerobic respiration, which takes place in all higher plants and animals. Respiration in the absence of oxygen is called as anaerobic respiration or called as fermentation, which takes place in some lower organisms like yeast or bacteria. So this is regarding aerobic and anaerobic respiration. If aerobic respiration abdina, it is not a very simple process. It has 3 steps. Now we are going to study about the stages of aerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration na oxygen irkanum. First one is glycolysis. These are the steps which are involved in aerobic respiration. Glycolysis. Glyco na glucose, lysis na breakdown. So inga yaar breakdown agra? Glucose. Glucose oda form inga enna nadakudhu, எந்த இடத்துல நடக்குது, இதை மட்டும்தான் இந்த glycolysis paragraphல ஞாபகம் வச்சுக்கணும். எங்க நடக்குது, என்ன நடக்குது, அதில் எங்கே நடக்குது அப்படின்னா cytoplasm of the cell. In the glycolysis process is common for both aerobic as well as anaerobic respiration. Glycolysis, glyco na glucose, lysis na breakdown. Glucose உடைய போகுது, ரெண்டா உடைய போகுது. எங்கே நடக்குது? cytoplasm. Okay, it is taking place in the cytoplasm, and it is in the glycolysis process will take place in both aerobic as well as anaerobic respiration. Aerobicliyum anaerobicliyum ரெண்டு processலுமே first step யாருன்னா glycolysis தான். Okay, glycolysis, here the glucose, that is 6 carbon molecule C6H12O6, this is broken down into 2 molecules of pyruvic acid. Okay, this 6 carbon glucose is broken down into 2 molecules of pyruvic acid. So what is happening? 6 carbon glucose is getting broken down into 2 molecules of pyruvic acid. Pyruvic acid is 3 carbon molecule. Okay, when you go to higher classes, this is not a very simple process like how we say with the arrow, very complex biochemical process. When you go to higher classes, you will learn all the steps with their biomolecular structure. Okay, now in standard 10, it is enough to keep in mind this much. Okay, so glycolysis takes place in cytoplasm. என்ன நடக்குது? 6 carbon glucose is broken down into 2 molecules of pyruvic acid, 3 carbon pyruvic acid molecule. Okay, this is the common step. Glycolysis வந்து aerobic anaerobic ரெண்டு ரெஸ்பிரேஷன்லையும் ஃபஸ்ட் ப்ராசஸ் வந்து glycolysis தான். Okay, after this, from the cytoplasm, இங்கே two molecules of pyruvic acid form ஆகிருக்கு இல்லையா. Second step, first step I said glycolysis. So இங்கே யார் form ஆகிருக்கா, two molecules of pyruvic acid, that is 3 carbon I said. Okay, இது எங்கே நடக்கும், cytoplasm I said. In the pyruvic acid molecules will move into mitochondrial matrix. Okay, mitochondrial matrix. Here, number 2. Second step in aerobic respiration is Krebs cycle, a very complex biochemical process. Here, the pyruvic acid molecules which are formed in the cytoplasm will enter into the mitochondrial matrix. This Krebs cycle takes place in mitochondrial matrix. Here this pyruvic acid is oxidized to form carbon dioxide, water plus ATP. This is very important and complex biochemical process which takes place in mitochondrial matrix. Mitochondrial matrix, அதாவது outer membrane தாண்டி உள்ளர் membrane தாண்டி உள்ள இருக்கிற அந்த அந்த பேக்ரவுண்டில் we will call it as matrix னு சொன்னோம். அந்த இடத்துல தான் இந்த Krebs cycle will take place. என்ன நடக்கும் அப்படின்னா, two molecules of pyruvic acid, they will be oxidized to carbon dioxide, water and ATP. And this is also called as tricarboxylic acid cycle. The other name for this is tricarboxylic acid cycle. And third process is electron transport chain. Okay, this is called as electron transport chain. How this electron transport chain? So this here it is accomplished by a complex electron carrier complex found in the mitochondrial inner membrane of the mitochondria. என்ன நடக்கும் அப்படின்னா, இங்கே here NADH2 and FADH2 which are formed during this glycolysis and Krebs cycle, they will be oxidized to release electrons. They will release electrons. Okay, here NADH2 and FADH2 which are formed during glycolysis and Krebs cycle, this formation along with the biomolecular structure and the enzymes what are involved, you will learn in your higher classes. You have to remember here the NADH2 and FADH2 which are produced during glycolysis and Krebs cycle will be oxidized to release electrons. These electrons will contain energy which will be captured by ADP to form ATP. The last step in that complex biochemical process. இங்கே என்ன ஞாபகம் வச்சுக்கணுன்னா, சொல்கிற மாதிரி அவ்வளோ ஈஸியான ஒரு ப்ராசஸ் கிடையாது. ஒரு காம்ப்ளெக்ஸ் எலக்ட்ரான் கேரியர் சிஸ்டம் எங்கே இருக்குன்னா, இன்னர் மைட்டோகாண்ட்ரியல் மெம்பரேனில் இருக்கும். ஒரு காம்ப்ளெக்ஸ் எலக்ட்ரான் டிரான்ஸ்போர்ட் செயின் எங்கே இருக்கும் அப்படின்னா, இன்னர் மெம்பரேன் ஆஃப் மைட்டோகாண்ட்ரியா. இங்கே என்ன நடக்கும் அப்படின்னா, NADH2 and FADH2, they are produced during glycolysis and Krebs cycle. Okay, they are oxidized to release electrons. These electrons will have energy which will be accepted by ADP to synthesize ATP. So the energy which is released during the released through this electrons will be accepted by this ADP to synthesize ATP, which is the final step of this process. This process is also called as oxidative phosphorylation. So ultimately these electrons will be accepted by oxygen and they will be getting reduced to water. This is what takes place. So glycolysis, I said it is a complex this is the first step for both aerobic and anaerobic respiration, where 6 carbon glucose is broken down into 2 molecules of 3 carbon pyruvic acid, and from the cytoplasm this pyruvic acid moves into the mitochondrial matrix where they are oxidized to form carbon dioxide, water and ATP. See, this electron transport chain, it is accomplished by a complex electron carrier complex found on the inner membrane of the mitochondria. Here what happens abdina, NADH2, FADH2, which are produced during glycolysis and Krebs cycle, they are oxidized to release electrons. These electrons will contain energy which will be captured by ADP to form ATP. So these electrons will be ultimately accepted by oxygen to release water. So these are the steps involved in aerobic respiration. Next, last part of this lesson will be respiratory quotient. What is respiratory quotient? RQ. Adavadhu, this is a value. RQ is equal to ratio of volume of carbon dioxide consumed, carbon dioxide liberated, carbon dioxide வெளியே விடுவோம், liberated by volume of oxygen consumed. So this is a ratio, ஒரு value. இது என்ன சொல்லும் அப்படின்னா எவ்வளோ ஆக்சிஜனை உள்வாங்கி நம்ம எவ்வளோ கார்பன் டை ஆக்சைடை வெளியே லிபரேட் பண்ணியிருக்கோம், எவ்வளோ ஆக்சிஜனை கன்சியூம் பண்ணி எவ்வளோ கார்பன் டை ஆக்சைடை லிபரேட் பண்ணியிருக்கோம், அந்த வேல்யூ இஸ் ஒன்லி கால்ட் அஸ் RQ, that is respiratory quotient. This is a very very important 2 mark question. So this is nothing but a ratio. Ratio என்ற வார்த்தை is very very important. It is a value. Okay. It is a ratio of volume of carbon dioxide liberated to the volume of oxygen consumed. So this is the last part of this lesson. If any doubts are there, you can post. Okay. Thank you.